I'm telling you, women in their late 30s end up marrying the biggest losers, okay? That is when I would argue, just as vulnerable as when we're super young. Between 36 and 40 is when women make some of the worst decisions of their lives if they haven't really been unpacking that pick-me-ism that we all have on some level. We're all on the spectrum. I want to talk about the red flags in this relationship, not just in him, but in her. What I mean by that, I don't know either of these people. I'm a big fan of her work. She's one of the most successful actors of my time. The highest paid actress in the world, I think, or one of the. And yet, like so many women, especially successful women, she suffers from the same thing that so many of us currently suffer from or have suffered from or will suffer from under patriarchy, which is making decisions based on cultural conditioning and this pressure or dating from a place of being like so lonely, and especially women, because we are taught that if we do not have these big achievements of babies and marriage, we are total forking losers. And as somebody who rode into my 40s with none of that, and even though and had a super I moved to Spain when I was 39, okay, to a town I'd never been to. I moved to France when I was 40. I have been doing amazing jobs, and I've loved my life because I was not married and I didn't have kids. And even I who loved my life, I loved my single life. I love my married life now because it is equally as amazing as my single life. It looks a little different, but I still go on adventures for weeks at a time by myself because that's who I am. That's what I'm always going to do. Because I will always date myself till the day I die. Married, singled, widowed, divorced, whatever I'm in, I am always going to date myself because I am the love of my life. And that is not what we are taught. We are taught to feel like freaking losers if we don't check these certain boxes. And even though she'd already been married once, she talks about, and I'm going to go over this interview now, being in her hotel room with an Oscar and being like, but I don't have anyone to share it with. My parents, it's not the same. My kids are like, yeah, whatever, great. Didn't have a man. Imagine a woman this successful who just won an Oscar being like, but I don't have a man, and then ends up with this guy. Now, on the outside, this may have seemed like a cute, I have not been following this couple because I just don't care that much about celebrity. The only times I do deep dives on them is when something happens and I'm like, huh. And then I look back and I'm like, whoa, right? Because so many celebrities are doing exactly what us non-famous people are doing, which is making decisions based on fear, social conditioning under patriarchy especially, and under capitalism, white supremacy culture, and all of these systems that are like, do this, individualism, and don't have community, don't have friends, just get together. It has to be someone of the opposite sex. Have babies you don't even want, and then you win and feel dead inside because you got no community, no friends, nothing else, and don't even know or love yourself. Like, that is what they're like, push us to do. And to see that even celebrities fall into this. Imagine being this successful and still being like, but I don't have a man. Like, it's so relatable. I kind of love this. Like, I hate it for her, but it makes me feel like, God, it doesn't matter how successful you are. At the end of the day, we're all on the pick-me spectrum. And hopefully trying to unlearn this stuff. Since I made my last video, I've read in the comments that her dad was I haven't heard anything about that. Let me know if you want to look into that. That might explain if she knew or didn't know. I don't know. Please give me some leads on where to go with that because I don't know. I do not know that story. But if her dad really sucked, that might really explain why she keeps being drawn to losers. Not just losers, but psychos. Okay, maybe he's not a psycho, but this guy was never a stable man. But let's talk about, I'm all over the place, but I have so much to say. I'm just going to show you so many examples of the red flags within her, right? If you find this in you and you can strongly identify with this, maybe take a break from dating. Please take a break from dating or start questioning things or working on unpacking this stuff, because this mindset, these old beliefs that I didn't put there, but I am responsible for getting rid of, they gotta go, because they are gonna they're good. Like for women under patriarchy, we are taught to self-abandon and save men and be the mom to everybody. And we don't even take care of ourselves. And she's gonna lose so much money. And she's also, how humiliating. This is why, please don't ask me to talk about my husband in my comments. I mention him when I feel like it. I don't like to share my private life very much for many reasons. I've realized the more healing I do, the less I actually want to share. Unless it's behind a paywall, like on Patreon, or if I write a book. But like just sharing it, because when you go viral with really like personal stuff, you get attacked from people you would never talk to. And people want to but the worst reason for women, this is the worst reason for women to make their relationships a sole part of their brand, if they're famous, or their online presence. If it's all about my man, my man, my man, you are giving that man so much power. Unlimited power. These men know how much power may not be able. And Ms. Aisha, her and I did an amazing podcast on the Risk podcast. We also did a live on my Patreon. And she helped me. She did therapy on me about my abusive ex, and made me realize that these men, they actually know how much power they have in being attached to you in the spotlight in public, and especially if you're a performer or this level of public figure, and that once they got you and they're attached to you publicly, you will do anything to save face. And that means you will lie for them, you will hide their secrets, you will do anything to save the relationship, because your image takes a huge hit if y'all don't work out and you've made him a huge part of your brand. He made her a part of his brand, but that's how he built his whole base. Do you know how many women probably love this dude just because he talked about his song Nicole, right? People loved her before she was attached to him. I don't give a crap that she's with him. Her work stands alone, but she kept making her love life a part of her thing, and now he's humiliated her. She'll be okay. She'll be okay, but how embarrassing. So please, if you decide to, whether you're a public figure or not, please don't hype your boyfriend or your husband all over social media. Doesn't mean you can't talk about them. Doesn't mean that everything has to be private. But I am telling you, if you just are like, oh my God, most men cannot handle that. I bet you, and I bet they go in the comments and are like, look at how these women, how they're talking about me. Oh, I could actually, why would I stay with this chick? I could get laid by anybody. And especially if he hates himself. And that is the other thing I want to focus on. This man did not know himself, didn't like himself, was an addict with no recovery, more or less, when he met her. And she was lonely and needed a purpose and needed a man. And so she's, well, perfect. They both were walking red flags. They found each other. And it worked out for a while until it didn't. But you won't convince me that this was this was a healthy relationship. And especially any man who is just worshiping you so much. And you saved him. No, you're his mother. You're his manager. You're his sponsor. This gives me Robert Downey Jr. vibes and his wife. But she's both he's Robert Downey Jr., but has the fame, but doesn't have the fame of her. So this situation is even worse because this man knows he doesn't deserve all that she does for him. His whole career hinges on her, but you know what? He'll be fine now. He's a multi-millionaire. And he's got most of his fans. You will not convince me most of his fans aren't women. With that haircut, are you kidding me? There was a couple things that apparently people had spotted before. They have a home. They bought a home in Portugal. She applied for a residency permit and he never. Now, some might say, well, that just sounds like something men do. They don't renew their driver's license, their passport, or maybe their driver's license because they need those passports. They don't think ahead, whatever. But, this is a big deal. If you can't actually live in the country if you don't have the right paper. So he wasn't ever planning to go into Portugal, I guess. Also, apparently, on their last anniversary, she posted something about him. And he didn't even post anything about her. So red flags, apparently there's been signs for a while that they've even been living in the same town or the same house. They have separate houses in Nashville. By the way, I'm from Nashville, okay? Anyway, the point is that it seems like their relationship went full circle. In the beginning, he wasn't that interested in her. Huge red flag. More on that in a second. Wasn't that interested. Took months to finally send her a message. And then he's really interested. Love bomb, all about her. Oh my God, you saved me. I mean, but she did. She saved her. I think this man was like, damn, I'm going to go places with this woman. And now he's back to like, can't be bothered to make an Instagram post about your wife. When you are under the watchful eye of hundreds of millions of people around the world, missing a post like this on Instagram is a big forking deal. Like, we should have known. But again, I don't really follow celebrities. I don't care. I only care when it gives me an opportunity to talk about something we all deal with. So this video isn't even about them. So please, let's be clear on that. I don't know them. I don't care. I am trying to show, when I talk about my own stories, people are like, whatever. When we can relate to famous people going through the same thing, and we can connect dots, we can see our own story and other people's story. That's what I'm doing here. If you are dating somebody who is clearly not as interested in you as you are them, or as he went from one extreme to the other, being like, oh my God, 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 you're an angel. Angel. Sorry, that's from Nell. I do Nell impressions. Ever done those for you? Tell me, do a Nell impression or something like that so I know you're even watching at this point. Tie in the wind. Did you see that? It like the app cut me off. It was like, no more Melanie. Anyway, she's admitted, and I'm gonna show you this, that they were two lonely people when they met. Oh, that's bad. It's this interview right here. I'm gonna cut to this screen to make it easier. This is Vanity Fair by Krista Smith. This was back in 2013. So just so you know, right after they got married, he went into rehab. There was a cocaine clause in their prenup, apparently. More on that in a minute. It felt big, it felt lonely and big. And that was what Nicole Kidman said when she was about her feelings upon winning the 2003 Best Actress Oscar for The Hours. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a relatable feeling. Everybody wants to share a big moment. But it does make me wonder, what about, honestly, my best friend Liz is who I think to share everything with first, other than Anthony. But before Anthony, it was Liz. Liz, my best friends. I have so many good friends that whenever anything great happens, I immediately want to tell them. I immediately and especially Liz and my sister and a couple other people, they would they would celebrate. I would even argue that most women's best friends, if you really truly are nurturing relationships with friends, right? Not just, other married women and you're using them when you're broken up or whatever. I mean, really nurturing these relationships. When you have a moment like winning an Oscar or publishing a book or getting a promotion or graduating from your PhD program or something like that, you should have people that make you feel validated for that. And a lot of men not only do not make you feel validated in that moment, they actually hate you and resent you for all your successes. I wouldn't even be surprised if that's what's behind this. He's probably like, you know what? I'm big now, and I'm tired of living in this bitch's shadow. Oh, and her mom's dead, her dad's dead. She's sad. I've got money now. Look at all these young bitches who want me. But if this is how you're feeling, if you do something like win an Oscar, and this is the red flag in you. If this is what you're thinking, do not date. If in your happiest moments, all you can think of is well, if I only had a man. So she says, you're in a hotel and you're like, okay, well, I'm sitting in this big suite with an Oscar and I still don't have a life. What is wrong with me? It hit home that I need to get a life. Get a life? Yes. Get a man? No. A man is not a life. They'll consume your life. They're parasites. This should have been her wake-up call that she needs more community, that she needs, I can't imagine what it's like to be a celebrity, okay? On some level, for what I do for a living, to be successful means become more public and known. But I don't want that, but I also want to be successful. So I'm in this place. I would hate to be a celebrity, especially on this caliber. So I can't imagine how hard it is to have friends, how hard it is just to live a normal life as a celebrity. Even, she's got like Naomi Watts. I think she has friends. But when they get a lot, like, I don't know what it's like living like this, but I'm just telling you, getting a man, especially one that is more like your son than a partner, that is not going to make you happy. As I'm sure she's realizing now. Maybe did a while ago. Who do I jump in bed with and celebrate with and order pancakes with? Oh my God. Y'all, this is all very relatable. And I want to be clear here. A lot of people are like, well, it's easy for you to say stay single. You're married. Yeah, I have been single and alone most of my life. All my 20s, all my 30s, except for that 9-month period or whatever, 10, I don't know, with that homosexual who almost unalived me. I didn't get married until like 42, I think. I keep forgetting how old I was. But I went through all the years where everybody's I went to nine weddings, out of town weddings in one freaking summer as a single woman, crying in bathrooms, but still being committed to fulfilling my life. But still, as much as I loved my single life, there was always a part of me that was like, you're a loser. You loser. And even though I've never wanted children, you're a loser. What's wrong with you? You're not a real woman if you don't know how to take care of people. As if I haven't taken care of my dad and a bunch of, king babies. But that social conditioning is so deep that this is very relatable. Okay, I'm not judging her for this. I get it. I am using this as an example, as if you catch yourself being like, if only I had someone to eat pancakes with and, sit in bed with my Oscar with, all would be good. No, she's losing half her fortune, I'm sure. Maybe not half, because she did sign a prenup, even though the prenup had a clause. Ha! That was painful not having that person to share it with. And again, it's not that she didn't have a person to share it with. She didn't have a man to share it with. That is the difference. Please go watch Grace and Frankie. Please go watch Grace and Frankie if you want to see the best love story of your life. That Grace and Frankie, Golden Girls, go watch the show Dying for Sex. I did a little review on that. Those shows about female friendships and how beautiful and how satisfying they are. Please go watch Grace and Frankie when you find yourself thinking like this. Because the love between those two women surpasses almost any romantic relationship. That's why it was more for my mom and my dad and my kids. But even the kids were young enough that they were like, oh, cool. Over, move on, not interested. So again, this was her mindset right before she met this man. So if you stop watching now, take this away. Especially when you're in that age, if you're in your mid to late 30s. I mean, this will start earlier, but I'm telling you, it really ramps up. I don't know if there's something in your hormones or something about 40 that we're like, oh my God, 40, like instead of thinking like, oh my God, do I have to do all this stuff before I turn 40 or I'm a loser? I know so many women who've literally had babies with and married the biggest losers because they saw 40 coming. And some of them even verbalized, well, I got to get married before 40. And now most of them are stuck with addicts. Most of them are with addicts. An addict man loves a woman desperate to take care of somebody and desperate to be married, especially when they're in that really, really vulnerable time period. And then later on, it's like, well, the loneliness of 2003 seemed to have dissipated, but she's had a tumultuous year, even though she's married, because even though they married on June 25th in 2006 in a fairy tale wedding in front of more than 200 friends and relatives, 4 months later, this dude checked into the Betty Ford Clinic, and only because she made him, only because she had an intervention and made this man go. And also, he probably realized, well, crap, I signed that prenup. I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting anything from her if I don't get sober. Also, so 60 Minutes Australia did a whole thing. This wedding seemed a lot like, almost like a royal wedding. You know, you got two people, they're from this country. They both are, kind of famous. She's like, like royalty, I'm guessing. And I don't know who's in Australia. Tell me, is she like royalty there? Like the people, it seemed like because in this interview, Keith was like, wow, it was something else having all these people. He was probably like, oh my God, I am just like literally married into royalty. I mean, all this, right, for him. This loser. So when the interviewer asked him, so where do you call home these days? Very simple question. Where the hell do you live? It's where my wife is, wherever she is. This sounds cute, but I learned this when I was on the dating apps in LA, and I became friends with this climber who is kind of a loser, who was always trying to date much younger women. But he seemed cool. He wasn't all that interested in me. This is before I realized how to, like, whatever. I was still dealing with stuff. And I remember him explaining to me that men see women as home, right? Because we oftentimes create, men who date women, at least. I can't speak for gay men. If we represent that in different ways, obviously not sexually. But he was saying that, you know, him and his girlfriend, this guy that went on some dates with, had broken up, you know, I don't know, a while ago. And he said that when you go through a breakup as a man, you feel like you lose your home. And I'm like, yeah, I can't relate to that. Like, what are you talking about, dude? ET phone home, whatever. Like, and he was just like, you know, he even explained, he was like, you know, like, I'm like, is it like, because you're literally go inside of us and we're just this home that you just like recharge your battery and all that? Because I'm thinking, you know, like physically. And he was like, yeah, I mean, that's probably part of it, but also just like my sense of home, you know, like that's my safe place. That's like how I feel at home. I don't ever want to be a man's home. I don't want these hobos thinking I'm their home. These, that's it, you know. And I've dated a literal hobosexual, rode the rails for 9 years with his little, you know, backpack. He didn't have a stick, but he might as well have. Banjo, hammock, had no home. What did he do? He jumped from home to home to home, woman to woman to woman, who always provided housing for him. So if a man says it, I get it. I get the sentiment. I get what they're, you know, I get it. But I'm just saying, if they themselves are not their sense of home, if them within their group of friends does not create a sense of home, if you are their only home, quite literally because you have more money than God and he's like, I want to be famous too, or because you are housing him, or literally because he does not have, he is dead in here, he's empty in here, everything is about, you know, escapism and all the other stuff, especially as addicts. This man will destroy his home. Have you ever seen an addict's home? They usually, not always, are a mess. And look what he's doing to his own home, his house that his soul resides in, his own body. He's tearing it apart. You know what I'm saying? This is a huge red flag. If these men are just dust in the wind and they don't have a sense of home deep within themselves, they will get into your little house. This house and like this house and this house, and it'll break all the furniture and leave spray paint all over the wall or burn it down. As soon as he walks in and he's with her, I feel at home. And the guy's like, so she's had a major impact on your life, hasn't she? The biggest impact that's ever happened to me. Yeah, well, you better believe it. And speaking of home, this woman has sacrificed so much for this man. Why the hell is a woman like this living in Nashville? Oh, I'm sure she loves it. Yeah. She would never be in Nashville if it wasn't for this dude. She moved to do not move for a man, I am telling you. Unless, like, I mean, obviously there's exceptions. There's always exceptions. But, she did an aerial. She did an aerial for this man. She's the king or the queen and also did Little Mermaid. Oh, God. But according to her, you know, I was meant to live there. I'm very, very happy living there. Okay, you tell yourself what you have to tell it. And look, again, I'm from Nashville. It could be a really lovely place. You know, I get it. But she would have never thought to live there if it hadn't been for this dude. And she's also far as hell away from LA and Australia. Nashville is not an ideal place for her to live. The other thing I want to say before I move on is that, you know, she has been with someone since she was very young. She married Cruz at age 23. They adopted 2 children. And then she wasn't single very long after he just left her for reasons I don't think anyone still understands, other than maybe like whatever. She seemed to have been surprised by him leaving. And now she's done it. It's happened again. Like, her fighting for her marriage seems to be very common. And sorry, this is all over the place, y'all, but I have like 75 pictures full of information. I'm trying to pull it all together here, and I'm also just kind of going with the thread I'm on. One of the things that she's been doing to fight for her marriage, it seems like since the beginning of their marriage, is to make sure this man stays sober. And as far as I know, she hasn't talked much about what it's like to be with somebody who is an addict. Right out of the gate, right after this, here it was just another twist in my life. Here it goes. Hold on, and off we go. But it was a painful, deeply painful. I don't know if she's ever had a moment to date herself, to not have some man causing chaos in her life. And honestly, the fact that she's had such an amazing career despite all these men is phenomenal. I hope she stays single, and I can't wait to see what she does. Maybe she actually will not even be throwing herself into her career as much. Maybe she'll do something else that makes her happy. But it's amazing that both these men didn't ruin her career. Because again, she's marriage and kids has always been on her mind. She said she's wanted children from the age of 17. She was 22, she met Cruz. And from the minute Tom and I were married, I wanted to have babies. I didn't know this, but they lost a baby early on. And then they went on to adopt 2 children. Apparently she already had her mother had an adopted sister. So that was like not a new scenario for a family. But the fact that she has been co-parenting with a man in Scientology who also like screwed her over so bad. But then she also left like that picture of her like after leaving. But also I didn't know this. But, so I remember Days of Thunder. I was a kid when it came out. I still remember the scene where they're laying in bed and he's driving a race car, or no, sugar packets up her leg to explain. I was like, wow, how romantic. But it's so, they start a relationship, I guess filming that. By the time that film came out, he divorced Mimi Rogers. 6 months later, he married Kidman. So this is a pattern with her to get married very quickly. It was something that her agents thought was going to tank her career. My agent told me, once you become Mr. Tom Cruise, you do know your career is going to die. You're going to absolutely shoot yourself in the foot. I was appalled. I was like, hello, I'm in love. I don't care if I'm shooting myself in the foot. I'd much rather be married and have a family. Et voila. Now, she was only 23, okay? So, give some grace for age. And she comes from a very Catholic family. And like all of us raised under patriarchy, has some of that, some or a little or a lot of that indoctrination. Clearly plenty. I just saw a guy who rides on a motorbike and happens to be the biggest movie star in the world, but I was in love with him, which is why I think it lasted 11 and a half years together. I have no regrets. It's funny, she went from like a bad boy who rides motorcycles. He wasn't a bad boy, like, in terms of being like an addict and stuff like that, but you drink the Scientology Kool-Aid, you're on that path. And then she gets with this guy who has like a crackhead, who has tattoos all over and is like a bad boy who can't stay sober but really wants to be a country music singer. If you find yourself continuously attracted to men who are broken and need to be fixed, or men who are just deeply insecure, or men who are just like, especially men that like have a bad boy, please see that as a red flag in yourself. Because the need to have constant excitement is often a time that an indication that you have some sort of trauma or codependency or something going on. The fear of being bored, that drives so many women to make terrible decisions and date the most unstable men. And it can be exciting. And a lot of us with codependency are so focused on other people, we don't know what to do when there's peace, because when we have peace, that might mean we have to go inward. So if we always have somebody distracting us, some sort of crisis, some sort of man creating a crisis constantly in our home, right? Then we don't actually have to see that we are not home. We're not here. Relationship addiction is a serious thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if she suffers from this on some level. She was so blindsided by that, the end of her marriage. 6.5 years later, the public still wonders what happened. I don't know. Do we know yet? Y'all, this is like a deep dive, but also this is a 19-year relationship plus before that I am trying to read and report on and try to relate to, a common experience among people like us in one day. So I am missing some. Again, like I said, apparently her dad has a bad reputation. If you want me to make that video and look into it, please let me know, because I have like 115 topics I want to talk about that are competing with that. She does seem to suffer from this need to be immersed in either love or work or both, and feeling that having to offer something, right? When trying to get over, heal from anything, she spent most of her time on set or with her children. This was after Cruz left. I slowly healed, and then I was able to come and say, here, this is what I have to offer. But this idea that we always have to be offering something, because under patriarchy, women are always going to overgive if we don't check ourselves. We're always going to overgive. Unless we end up with like a codependent man and we're like the selfish whatever. But in general, everything is set up for us to self-abandon and overgive unless we are very, very confident and strong with our boundaries and understand patriarchy and push back against men's indoctrination and men's socialization to take. So she dated Lenny Kravitz for a little bit, some movie producer named Steve Bing. I got engaged to somebody, but it just wasn't right. It wasn't ready. We weren't ready. And when this reporter asked about this mystery fiance, she declines to say, I get engaged and I get married. That's my thing. I don't want to date. I'm not interested. I'm interested in a very deep connection. So for getting to know them really well and letting time and consistency show me any serious red flags, let's just date and boom, get married. This has not worked out well for her. It may have lasted 19 years, but she learned literally within 4 months of being married to Keith that his addiction was not under control whatsoever. Imagine literally 4 months after getting married in a fairy tale wedding with 200 people, like a royal kind of wedding, having to spend Christmas with your husband in rehab on the other side of the world. So I was curious, like if a lot of times men baby trap you, but it seems like she was the one who really wanted kids. Says today, this is written like shortly after, like not long after they got married, right? Her first wedding anniversary just passed, and her desire to have a child with Urban is palpable. I'm yearning to have one. I think I would be very sad if I wasn't able to have a baby. Keith knows I want one, and he has been getting there slowly. Well, now again, as somebody who dated one of the most messed up people I could have ever met, my wildest, most psychotic, like crazy imagination could never have come up with the kind of bonkers man that I ended up with and all the ways I justified. So I'm not one to judge her for this. I'm just saying, like this is what mind forking happened. She marries, doesn't really know this man very well. He's not even interested in her in the beginning. Then he's like all about her, worships her. They get married very, very quickly. She has to write has to put a clause in her prenup that, about, and all that stuff, because that's how unstable he is. And then shocker, he relapses within 4 months. And all you can think about is wanting to have a baby with this man. Getting married to an addict is one of the worst things that a woman can ever do. You will never be as important as that man's addiction. But having a baby or two, like they ended up having, but she's not thinking straight. She's just like, oh my God, I finally found love. And of course, I want to be a mom. I mean, she already had 2 kids. I don't know if this is her desire to have, biological children, or I don't know what it was. But her desire to get married quickly and to have children, it seems to have been very strong. So this to me, I'm not saying there's a red flag about wanting to get married or having children, obviously, but being so impatient to have it, being so set on it and needing it more than hoping, like needing it and hoping it might happen, hoping it will happen are two very different things. And men exploits women's desperation all the time, especially at this age. Now, apparently this man could not be far away from her because she's home, but she couldn't be far away from him. And I think part of that is probably her wanting to make sure that he's not doing, she had every reason to be worried about it. He talked about in one of the speeches, the Lifetime Achievement Awards or whatever, it was Kidman was a godsend, pushed through every negative voice. I'm sure even some of her own. And she chose love. No, she self-abandoned and chose codependency. Okay, so like I said, about the prenup. He had he gets $900,000 a year for every year of marriage. I first heard that from Cecilia Regina. Dr. Cecilia Regina. If you haven't seen her videos yet, go follow her. And this clause states that Urban is only eligible for the money if he steered clear of drugs and alcohol across their marriage. I'm curious because he left her, and I hope she looks into this and finds out that he did not if he wasn't. And this saves her from having to pay this man. Because look how much money they're worth. I'm going to get to the red flags in a minute, but I just want to show you how much money is involved in it. Together, they have a combined net worth of $500 million. Kidman alone is worth $375 million. So look, she is more than 3 times more valuable than him. He's only that valuable, mostly because of her. Not all, but again, I've already had someone in the comments be like, you don't know Keith Ehrman, he had blah, blah, blah. I don't care what he had going on. This man, she held him down. This man was doing really bad in his personal life. He could not keep his crap together until he found a man manager. Rose Hackman, who wrote the book Emotional Labor. If you haven't read it, please read it. She's one of my mutuals. She's awesome. She's a journalist. That book changed my life. And she starts off talking about man managers. That's what women are taught to be, is man manager. And without a man manager, this man probably wouldn't even have a career. He would have either died of an addiction or, burned down everything that he had built, because that's what addicts do. So 11 properties across the U.S. and Australia. I mean, look at all these homes. Like, this is just one. So Cecilia talked about this in her video, and I did not know this. But so Nicole's dad died, I don't know, like 8 years ago, or I don't know how many years. It's in the pictures, but I don't want to lose my thought here. And apparently her mom died not too long ago. And it has been very hard on her. And then there's this article. Nicole Kidman wakes up crying and gasping amid loss of parent. Apparently she's not been doing so well. This has been very hard for her, right? The death of a parent is almost always hard. Even if you're not close to a parent, it is oftentimes very hard. A different kind of grief. So imagine Keith has built this 19 years of building wealth with this woman, staying sober or appearing that way, or being held down and managed by a woman, getting all of the access to her power, star power, all of her network, and all these female fans who are probably like, oh my God, because of the way he loves her. The kids are almost out of the house, right? They're like going to be off to college probably soon. And now she's in a place where she's grieving and, having a really hard time. Do you think, why would he stay? Men like this who worshiped you because you're the one who held it down, when you're not doing so well, they either just cannot show up, or they get tired of it real quick, because they're the eternal, especially with addicts. What happens with an addict and a codependent person is the addict is addicted to a substance or a behavior, and the codependent person if they are addicted to, if they're codependent, like chronically codependent, they are addicted to the person themselves, right? And so when the addict is doing okay, and all of a sudden the person who has been parenting them, managing them, mothering them is not okay, it throws the whole relationship off. The addict is used to being the one taken care of all the time, the patient, the little boy, right? The child, not the parent, even if he has children, right? So I could see in a scenario like this is why men leave their wives when they get sick. Especially the men who are the most selfish and the most king babyish. Those are the men who leave wives when they're sick, because all of a sudden they're not the center, they're not the sun with a bunch of planets orbiting around them. They're not the perpetual victim, the perpetual patient, the child, the superstar of the family. Now she needs more time, attention, and care. And he's like, what? I didn't sign up for this. You're supposed to self-sacrifice, self-abandon, and give until you're, like I'm the vampire, and it really throws them off when she's not doing so well, either physically or emotionally or mentally. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is behind it. Now, if you want me to go into this, I will, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll do this in a follow-up, but the story about this Amanda Wyatt chick in Nashville, whoa, is it damning. If this is true, holy crap. But I think I'd have to make that a part 2, because this is already getting long. But just type in Amanda Wyatt. Give us the Amanda Wyatt story. Now, even though he has gone on the record saying things like it felt so obvious that Nicole Kidman was the one, she says in an interview with Ellen DeGeneres that after they met, he was so not in. She had a huge crush on him, and it took him months to ever even reach out to her. But This sounds romantic, especially if you've been raised on rom-coms. Luckily, I did not watch many rom-coms after I was a teenager because I was like in the outdoors working, like living in my truck or living in tents, and I had no access to TVs. I swear to God, I can't tell you how much not watching rom-coms kept me from centering men. I didn't realize what a gift that was. Some of them I'm going back and watching. I'm like, oh my God, no wonder so many women fell into marriage. The way he talks, this sounds romantic, but it's not. She's just the one. She's the one I was searching for my whole life, and everything not only changed, but had to change in me if I was going to go that road. Now, I know it seems like such a compliment that a man's been searching for you his whole life. There's a part of that, it's like, yeah, like you are somebody that he had always dreamed of, but searching for, like, complete me, I need you. All those things are not healthy attitudes. But also this idea that he was not going to change. He wasn't truly going to change until she entered his life. She is what changed him. She is what motivated him. He became a better man because of her. That is bad, red flag. If a man is saying that about you, run! You are responsible for this man's sobriety, for his adulting, for him being able to just not fall apart. I know it makes you feel needed because we've been taught to be mamas to all these men, right? But being needed is not healthy. If a man needs you or you need a man, y'all are both not doing good. That's why financially depending on a man with no money of your own is so dangerous, and a man financially or depending on you on anything at all, and he cannot take care of himself, that is equally as well, maybe not equally as dangerous, because at least you have more options if you have money. But do not underestimate the homosexual. They get in here and you end up staying with them because you so badly. You know how they say like it's more effective if somebody says like threatens you and they do this. A lot of times people are more likely to give in if they do this instead. That is what dating a homosexual is like, or dating down to a man who needs you, or dating an addict who can't live without you. They are constantly doing this, right? And a lot of us feel more threatened by someone hurting themselves than even hurting us, because we can't live with that guilt and that responsibility, because especially if you're a codependent person. But when you met her, it felt so obvious. I knew where I was going. It was everything I was looking for, and then beyond, just beyond. Yeah. Money, career, prestige, being taken seriously instead of being a washed up, addict roaming the streets of Nashville. This feels really good. As somebody who fell for this feels so good. I mean, my ex even had tattoos on his hands and fingers. I'm not saying that that's the red flag, but feel like being needed this much. I never wanted to be a mom, but I realized when I dated a man like this, that apparently a part of me, I got a taste of what mothering somebody would feel like, that unconditional love, no matter what you do, I'll take care of you. And no thanks. But it did give me a sense of purpose. It made me feel needed. It made me feel wanted. It made me feel like I was so important this man might die without me. Boy, does the ego love that. Oh! So even though they met at a gala in January 2005, it took 4 months for him to ever, reach out. Now, for some reason, Nicole always thought this man was the love of her life. Then again, she was desperately looking for somebody, was lonely, and it doesn't take much when you're in this state to be like, oh my God, this is it. I finally met him. Says so many women in their 30s who are about to see 40 or whatever, and they're like, oh, I finally met him. And marry losers and now have to co-parent with a loser for the rest of their life. And it seems like he was the king of love bombing. He was doing little serenades and stuff at 5 a.m. on my stoop. What? I don't know. What's that about? What's he doing up at 5 a.m.? Whatever. Okay. I'm just saying. Maybe that should have been red flag. Most people are asleep at this hour. So at 5 a.m., he's doing a serenade on her stoop. And that is when I went, this is the man I hope to get I hope to marry. Get to marry. Look at that phrasing there. I get to. It's an honor. As if he's not the one who gets to marry this superstar that's loaded and the highest paid actress in the world. It was pretty intense. That's another red flag. Intense is not a word that you want. Butterflies either. I believed by that point he was the love of my life. Maybe that's because I'm deeply romantic. Yeah, there's also there's people who are There's like a whole 12-step program for that. What is it? Smack and Love Addict. There's so many people who are romantic. That you could call it that, or you could call need something so bad that your brain convinces you a lot of crap is romantic when it's not at all. Oh, there's Mo's getting in his house. Oh, he's making his bed. He got in a dog fight today. Deeply romantic, or I'm an actress, or have strong faith as well. But I just believed, oh, okay, here he is. Here's the man I've been waiting for. So just like him, he was waiting to find this person. Like, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with, wanting to be married or have a relationship or love. There's nothing wrong with wanting love. But this like just waiting and waiting. Here he is. I say this is because when I was in my late 30s, even though I hadn't dated other than that awful dude who almost took my life. I hadn't seriously dated at all. And I was in my late 30s, and I kept catching myself being like, is he the one? All the time with some of the biggest losers. So if this was in me, somebody who didn't even care about getting married or any of that stuff and was just like open to dating, and I caught myself thinking, oh, is this him? I bet this is him. Maybe this is him. And then planning all this crap for our future together. It's embarrassing, isn't it? But again, this thing started off with him being like, He didn't call me for 4 months. She also apparently never even addressed why. I had such a crush on him, and he wasn't interested in me. It's true, she said to Ellen. He didn't call me for 4 months. And when Kidman revealed that she never asked him why he didn't call, Ellen didn't let him get away with it. I don't know, it seems like he didn't like you. That you would stay with him is weird. Y'all, I'm not a fan of Ellen. Mo's, oh my gosh. Sorry. Okay, a couple other things about Nicole before I move on to some of his crazy statements he's said. She burned her diaries when she met him or married him. She said, I don't understand this. You can't read somebody's diary. You shouldn't read it. I burnt most of my journals after I remarried. You're only going to find out bad things. What? That's a red flag in her. Like, what? First of all, are you worried about him reading your diaries? Because that's a red flag. Why would you, he should never be reading your diaries. I do not throw away your diaries. Y'all know I've kept my diary. I've read some journal entries on here before, so you can see how I used to think. And it's actually good to keep your diaries because you get to see who you were back then. I think it's really important because a lot of times I used to think I was just some dumb idiot, whatever. And I went back, and even in high school, I was like, this guy is a loser. but he likes me, and I'm not that pretty. Just seeing my thinking behind it was so revealing. Keep your diaries. Take notes when you're dating people. Take notes in your marriage because you need to have clarity on what's going on. And you also want to understand things in hindsight. You can't do that if you burn everything. I get the idea behind it, but this is weird. She also said this quote, and I may show you the whole quote, but this is enough. We're very together. It's a very adventurous, extraordinary place to be. Incredibly raw, incredibly dangerous, and you're very much out at sea. When you commit to someone like that, you live and you die together by that decision. Okay, this would be the white people's version of ride or die. Apparently that is a term that we appropriated from Black culture. But we live and die by this decision. God, I'm glad you're not dying by it. I'm glad he left you, because this sounds like don't ever enter a marriage or a relationship with this mentality. Ooh, it's dangerous. We're out at sea. We live and die in this raft together. God. But then again, she committed fully, right? They meet, get married very quickly. Immediately in rehab. Immediately moves to Nashville, right? A town that she has no connection to, as far as I understand, other than him, but was made to be there. Okay. had kids, boom, boom, pretty quick. You know what? I've just realized I have so many red flags about him that I'm going to make that a whole separate video. There's going to be a part 2. Now, there's been some red flags in this one, but I want to show some interviews with him because this has been a little bit more focused on her. But I want to see there's so much more. The way he talks about her, the way he talks about himself, I'm going to do that a whole separate video. If you made it this far, let me know. Let me know you want to see the Keith red flag video. Anyway, like, comment, share, boost if you know how to do that. And if you are interested, please follow my Patreon if you like my work. That's where I do lives. I interview amazing people. We do watch parties. I talk about my private life over there, not here. I share some stuff here, but not much. Travel content, France content, behind the scenes as a storyteller, content creator, comedian, journalist stuff. Thank you, Patreon people, for holding it down. When the algorithms fail, y'all are why I'm able to keep doing this work when my videos don't get sent in the algorithm. And thank y'all for watching. And please let me know if you want that part 2. And let me know if you heard that comment song. Women's football comment song. I know it's kind of random and unrelated, but I wanted to show you what I did this weekend to support women's sports. Lyon's team is number 1 in France. Look at these badasses go. But look how empty the stadium is, and it really pisses me off. Look at the love, these women are so awesome. Oh my God, another one to kick in Paris. But PSG soccer day. Look at these awesome soccer players. I love it. Look at them all happy and celebrating because they're badass and they're always number 1 in France. But the men's team sucks and we own it. Not super sucks always. It pretty much sucks compared to the women's team, just like soccer in the U.S. right? Anyway, let's get this team. You know what? Also, this player got a trick. You don't know what that is. It's 3 goals in 1 game. Oh my God. Leon, women 6-1. Look at that. Alex Morgan played here for a little while too. Like, how cool is that anyway? Comment song, support women's sports.